Welcome back, fellow aircraft builders and aviation enthusiasts. Today's video is going to be a lot like my 10 scratch building concepts video. We're just going to have a conversation for a little while. What I want to talk about today is something that people don't often want to talk about when it comes to building your airplanes, because it's the not fun part of building your airplanes, and that's actually not working on your airplane. It's the dealing with the delays and the setbacks and the dents that can put in your progress. At the end of the video, I have a little progress update for you on where I'm kind of at with the project right now. I'll give you some examples of how many hours I have in at various times. First and foremost, I want to talk about the setbacks and the delays that I've experienced. The reason I'm making this video is so that you guys will all understand that life can throw you some curveballs. You've got lots of stuff that you're obligated to outside of the project, and you're just not always going to be able to be in here working on the project. A lot of that comes down to how realistic of a schedule you've set for yourself in building this airplane. So my goal, I work full-time, I'm not retired, I have a lot of other kind of side obligations, but my goal is to put approximately 500 years, give or take, average in on this project per year. And I figure that at 500 hours per year, I can probably finish this airplane within 3 to 5 years. Again, building from scratch, so not a kit, but I figure that's pretty realistic. If it takes me 5 years, I will have had 2,500 hours into an extremely simple airplane to build, as airplane builds go, and a very basic aircraft. Now, mind you, I've been working on the engine conversion since 2004, roughly off and on, so I'm further along there. That's not being logged, time that's not necessarily being logged. And I officially started the project in 2011 and only put about 20 hours in before I had to close that down and focus on other issues for almost 4 years. But going back to my goal, 500 hours per year average is what I was shooting for. And as you'll see, I'm way short of that goal. In the preceding 12 months from today, it's currently the end of March 2017. In the preceding 12 months from today, I've logged just over 250 hours. That's half of what my goal is. So that also doesn't count time spent analyzing plans, researching building methods, dealing with Zenith technical support for questions that need answering, anything like that. So what my overwhelming message in this video is going to be is that the number one way to persevere in this project, if you hope to complete it, is just don't sweat the stuff that interferes. It's going to happen, whether it's money, time, you name it. Don't sweat it. Just move on, move ahead, get back to the project in whatever capacity you can for however long you can. All right, so I'm going to talk about two kind of categories, if you will, of setbacks and or delays. The first category is the stuff that's directly related to the project. You break a tool, you're waiting for materials, that sort of thing. Trying to figure out how to solve a problem that's related to the build project, that type of thing. The other type of setback and delay are the more personal ones. These are things in your personal life that interfere with you being able to work on the project. So I'm going to give you some very clear, specific examples from my own life and also in my own project here. Not a pity party at all. Not looking for any kind of support or anything like that, or any kind of sympathy. It's strictly just to give you an idea of what you can expect in your own life, relative to these long-term, year-long, several years-long projects that we're doing, building an airplane. So the number one technical problem that I had when I was building the project was my bending brake. And if you've seen any of my other videos, I've noted several times several problems with the bending brake. I broke it twice. I rebuilt it a third time once I acquired the welder behind me, and now it's working pretty well for everything. There were weeks and weeks in between versions of the bending brake as I worked out how to rebuild it so that it would work for me. And in between the time that I broke it and fixed it with the welder, I think I had 6 weeks of downtime before I figured out how to build it so that it would work. That's a long time to be without a bending brake when you're building an all-metal airplane. So there's lots of other stuff you can do in the meantime, but if you've built up a kind of a tempo working on certain things and you've got a groove going and suddenly your bending brake breaks, really hard to build up that momentum doing other parts of the project. So that's a major setback for me. Another one, waiting for materials. I'll tell you, even if you go into the project knowing exactly the number of nuts and bolts and washers you need to order, exactly the number of sheets of aluminum that it takes to build the plane, all that other stuff, what it takes to build the plane That is the amount of material that goes into building the plane, and what it takes you to build the plane are probably two different things. You're going to mess up on your parts occasionally. You might break or strip a nut or a bolt occasionally. You may clip wires where they don't need to be clipped. You may damage something. You may have a tool fall on a part that you have to remake. You're going to have some do-overs. And so while you may even order extra materials to account for that, you probably are going to be in a position where you're going to have to order more at some point. Like I said, this is even if you order everything that it takes to build the aircraft all up front. Like if you were buying a kit, you're still probably going to have enough do-overs over time that you'll need to reorder materials at some point. And I've had to do that several times. I didn't order everything all at once, so it's just natural that I have to order more materials. But when it happens unexpectedly, that's when it's a delay and a setback. So then the other issue is you have to figure out how to solve problems for this. You have to figure out how to make your parts sometimes. You have to figure out what kind of modifications you need to make to tools, what kind of tooling you have to build, and those types of things. That takes some time to sort that out, figure out how you're going to do it, try it out, experiment with it, make sure that it works, and then go back to the drawing board if it doesn't. These are all delays, if you count delays as anything that takes away from building your airplane, from actually assembling it or making a part or whatever. Everything like that is going to be a delay for you. It's just going to happen. There's no way around it unless you've built thousands of airplanes before and you have all the industrial equipment that you need and everything is set to tolerance. But I guarantee you, even Zenith aircraft probably makes a part for the kit that's out of tolerance at some point and they have to scrap it and make it over for whatever reason. So keep that in mind when you're building. Things like that are going to set you back. Likewise, we touched on it a little bit. Building tooling, I had to completely rebuild my work table. I built this welding cart. I built a riveting C-frame and some other tools to help with this project. I log my tooling time as part of the project, but there's plenty of just odds and ends stuff that you don't log that kind of feels like you're taking away from the project. So keep those in mind. Likewise, if you're working on a major structure like the horizontal stabilizer or the rudder, and you don't like the way it turns out, if you've got to rebuild it, that's time away. It's time invested in the project, but it's time away from progress, in my opinion. In a way, if you need to remake it, now you're making a better part, and that's progress, but if it's a setback, plain and simple. So let's get into the personal issues. I don't want to dwell on these too much and go into too much detail on these. And again, this is not a pity party by any means. It's just to give you an idea of what you're going to run into over the course of the years and years it takes to build an airplane from scratch. So I have a couple of persistent medical issues. The number one problem that I have with these issues are fatigue. And it's manageable. I can certainly come out in the shop most nights without any problem. I can certainly put in an hour or two here and there, usually without any problem. But there are times when I can't, or just don't feel like it for that matter because I'm too tired. And it is what it is. Everybody at various different stages of life or different ages or whatever are dealing with their own demons, have their own crosses to bear, their own mountains to climb. Just take them in stride, push through them, do whatever you got to do. If you need to take time off and rest, do it. If you can come out and work for a little bit and it doesn't kill you, great, do that too. But recognize that there's going to be a whole lot of things that are going to interfere with working on this project that you just simply can't control. And so control the things that you can control. Don't sweat the stuff you can't. Likewise, I injured my back. I was standing the fence in May of last year, and I torqued my back pretty good, and I was down for about 3 weeks of doing nothing on the project. And then in the weeks after that, we're very gently working on the project for a little while until I hit about the 6-week mark, and then I was kind of back to normal. So stupid, unforeseen, happened, set me back. But you pick up and move on. I also had several home improvement projects, the fence being one of them, but there were some other things I had going on that needed repair, car repairs, some home maintenance issues, and some things like that just a weekend here or there kind of took away from a lot of productivity on the plane at times. One of the things that really was frustrating was I got mono. I have never had mono in my life. I'm now 42 years old, and mono usually strikes teenagers. I don't know how I ended up with it, but I got mono. So I was down for a few weeks because of that. Just no motivation, no energy. Really, really down. sick wise, just really no energy and couldn't be out here in the shop very much. A little bit here and there, but it was just almost meaningless the amount of time I put in while I was sick with mono. So, and again, it happens. Another project that I had was to reorganize the shop, add some storage cabinets out here, both to help the project itself, but also to help declutter just the other stuff that's not related to the project. And then I really had to do some wholesale cleaning out here. So probably a couple weekends invested in that. I did a shop lighting project. I don't know if you can tell in the video, but I added 6 4-foot LED light strips out here, dual LED light strips. Really brightened it up out here, makes the colors a little truer on the camera, I think, and really upped my game as far as productivity, because now I can pretty much see everything, whereas at times before I was straining due to the light. So hoping to make less mistakes that way, less measuring mistakes. You can see clearly, but it took me a weekend to get the lighting up and running and hooked up the way that I wanted, and the light strips located where I needed them to be. So again, all that took away from working on stuff. The holiday season 2016, so we're talking Thanksgiving and Christmas here in the US. We hosted a lot of family members for a change. So normally my wife and I head to other family members' homes for the holiday season. We travel, but it's usually a weekender, quick weekend, and we're back. This year we had different groups of family members at different times on different weekends coming from all over the place. So we spent a lot more time hosting and making sure our house was cleaned up and ready to host. And if you've ever entertained guests, particularly over the holidays, you know what I mean. It's not as simple as going to someone else's house for a dinner. So we spent a lot of time doing that. After the first of the year here in 2017, I got the flu. So I want to say that was January, maybe early February. I got the full-blown flu. I was sick for a solid, down and out for a solid 3 to 5 days, and then lingering on for a while after that. Almost immediately after that, one of our family pets, who's been with me particularly for 16 years, had been developing some chronic illnesses a chronic illness over the last 6 months. In the last few weeks, he got really sick really quickly. I spent a couple of weekends doing some intensive treatments that really, under the supervision of our veterinarian, didn't pan out for us. We ultimately had him euthanized a couple of weeks ago, which was sapped my motivation to work on the project at the very least. 2 days after that, my wife had to go to the emergency room and had to have emergency surgery for an unexpected life-threatening illness. So for the last week or so, we've been dealing with that. And so she's perfectly healthy now, and she's on the mend and doing well, and I don't have to nursemaid her quite as much now. But those are the types of things that life throws at you. So just one thing after another in the last 12 years. So when I mentioned that I was really only able to put about 250 hours in, those are the reasons why. Those were the curveballs, the monkey wrenches, the just stuff that life throws at you, and you just deal with it and move on. So hopefully most of the big deal stuff that I've had to deal with in the last year is over with. I'm hoping I don't have a ton of surprises in store for me this year. The one thing that I know that's coming is I'm probably going to build a garden shed to be able to clean up, give me some more room here in the shop and move any of the non-shop related stuff out there, like the lawn equipment and all that stuff. So that's going to take me a couple weekends probably to do that, but I'm hoping that that's really my only major curveball for this year, for 2017, moving forward. So that's really it as far as the personal issues that have kind of come in the way. The other thing that takes me a considerable amount of time away from the project is the YouTube channel that you're currently watching and my blog. Now, I'm okay with the fact that I spend lots of hours dealing with that stuff because it's one of the main motivations for me to keep working on the project, is so I can keep publishing new video content, new blog content, new photos, new progress reports, and things like that. But make no mistake, maintaining a YouTube channel, even as very basic, and I would argue probably low quality as far as publishing, professional video editing and things like that are concerned, it takes a lot of time. Just just editing out the ums and the ers and the, you know, things you don't mean to say, or retreading video over and over and over till you say it right. Those types of things takes a lot of time away from working on the actual project, but that's okay. It's part of the project. I consider that part of the project, but it does take away from actually building the airplane sometimes. So keep those in mind. I've also had camera issues and hardware issues and, you know, new equipment to get used to and trying to learn new software and things like that. So those are all things that take away from the plane. But stuff happens. Most people have more than one hobby. Most people have more than one thing going on in their personal life. So it's just the type of thing that you have to deal with. Some of the issues I've been talking about only set me back a weekend or two. Some of them set me back several weeks. So you take them in stride. You try to get back to the project when you can. So one of the things I'll say about setbacks, and this is kind of almost a mental thing or a psychological issue, is that when you have a major setback, especially something that sets you back a few weeks or takes you away from the project for 3 or 4 weeks or whatever, if you had a lot of momentum in the project prior to that, it's sometimes very difficult to build that momentum back up very quickly. And I'm not really sure why that is. I think it's just, you know, kind of if you're in the zone, if you're in the groove, and then you lose it for a while, it's hard to get it back. I love working on this plane, but after I've been away from it for weeks on end, it's hard to get myself back into the mood or the groove or the tempo and get back out here and start just really cranking out progress again. It's just a weird feeling, and I'm not a psychologist. I don't know why that is, but it seems to be the norm for everybody. If you get away from it for too long, it's hard to get back into it. So I have to force myself to come back out here and start, you know, hatcheting away on it again. But once I do, my progress goes right back up and I get back into that tempo and stuff like that. It's just almost, it's weird. You're almost apprehensive about getting back into it, but it's just that kind of project. Once you get back into it and get rolling again, it's fantastic. So let's talk about time involved now. So I anticipated that I'd probably have the plane done in 3 to 5 years. That was assuming 500 to maybe between 500 and 750 hours of logged build time per year. At the rate I'm going, it'll be every bit of 5 years, probably longer. Keep in mind, I'm not putting a crate motor in. I'm building an engine to do this. I'm building my own panel. So I'm not using a lot of off-the-shelf solutions for this airplane in any aspect of it, except for maybe the upholstery, because I can't sew. But it's going to be every bit of 5 years. I've really been working on it full steam for about 1.5 years, maybe 20 months now. But I'll give you a little analysis here. I did a little project hour analysis for this video. Pulling off of my build log, I currently have 555.5 hours of build time since I started in 2011. 2011 was only 20 hours worth of work, and then I hit the pause button until 2015. So 555 hours really going strong since 2015. My hours by year in 2011, I had 19.5 hours. In 2015, I started back up in the project on July 24th. For the rest of that calendar year, I had 158 hours in. Not a ton, considering I was working on 5 months worth of project, and I only logged 158 hours. 2016, I logged 350 hours during the whole calendar year. A lot of those setbacks towards the end of the year are why I didn't log more time than that. And then now for 2017, I have 55.5 hours at this point, 3 months in, almost 3 months in. If you've been watching my YouTube channel since I started it, back on November 15th, 2015, I've logged 430 hours, 430 and 3/4 hours since then. And because I'm writing a separate article for my EAA Chapter 55 newsletter, I've logged 256 hours in the last 12 months from today. So there's all kinds of non-logged hours that I've spent, looking at plans, researching this, researching that, doing whatever. But I'll tell you, I'm frustrated with the amount of progress that I've made in the last 12 months. I cannot believe that I've only spent 256 hours working on this project in the last 12 months. However, here's where I'm at with the project. The flaperon skeletons are done. The horizontal stabilizer is all but riveted together. There's just one side of the skin that needs to be riveted together. The rest of it is riveted and ready to go. It just has to be mated to the elevator first before I can do the final riveting on the one side. The elevator is almost done. I'm finishing up rigging up the trim tab and everything like that right now. The skins are all match drilled and everything and ready to go. The firewall is ready to be riveted. It's Clecoed together right now, but it's ready to be riveted. My cabin sides also Clecoed together, ready to be riveted. The slat skins and the slat components are all formed and ready to go. And there's no skeleton to the slats, so all the components are ready to just start being assembled. The rudder is done, although I'm going to rebuild it, but that'll just take a weekend. And then lots of tooling progress that I've made so far. Likewise, almost all the parts for the airplane, save a few skins and some of the stuff in 63 thou, those are all done. I got boxes and boxes of parts that are already done. So everything, almost everything for the wings, I think everything for the wings, almost everything for the fuselage, done, ready to be assembled. The fuel tanks are formed, they just need to be welded. And then there's some 63 thou parts that I have to still form yet, and some fuselage skins and wing skins that aren't cut yet. So in my opinion, that is an awful lot of progress for only having 555 hours into the plane at this point. So I spent a lot of time in this video kind of talking about all the negative things that got in the way of the airplane build and all the stuff that kind of tripped me up and took away from the progress. But yet I've got all those things done already. And so, like I said before, the takeaway to this is to just don't sweat it. Try to keep in mind the things that you've accomplished up to this point, wherever you are in your build. And don't sweat the small stuff. Things are going to happen. Life's going to get in the way. You might have money problems, job problems, or whatever. But if there's a way to keep working on the project, even if it's just a little bit, or, you can only put in intense bursts here and there to get things done, as long as you're making progress, that is the key. Progress is progress, and if you only log a few hours here and there, you're still working towards that completed airplane. As long as you're making some progress, that's what matters. You don't want to get completely stalled forever, and it's easy to do, but most of that is a mental issue or a psychological issue rather than an actual ability or financial issue. So again, one of these different video formats, I'm not demonstrating how I'm doing something, but hopefully this will put into perspective what the build process is like when you're trying to build this airplane and you're not making as much progress as you want, and some of the things that you might run into that prevent you from making progress. I just wanted to be able to provide some perspective on that and share that a little bit with you guys, because it is very, very easy to get discouraged. I mean, the first big one with my bending brake, it was like, well, I might as well just quit. I obviously can't build a bending brake. Obviously, I can build a bending brake. I built it again, and then again. Got it done, just kept chugging away at it. That's the important part. Keep chugging away at it, no matter what it takes. If you ultimately want to build and fly your own airplane, or just simply build an airplane, get out in the shop and get it done. Don't worry about how much time you're spending on it or not. Don't worry about when life throws you curveballs or throws a monkey wrench in the works. Just deal with them and move on. That's all for this video. Be sure to like, comment, or subscribe, and let me know if you have any requests for future video content. As always, thanks for watching, and good luck with your projects.